How can he be certain the Earl of Duin will take Annabella as a wife? They say he is wealthier than any man living, and the handsomest man in the Borders to boot. Our eldest daughter is as plain as mud. Would not Myrna or Sorcha be a better choice? Myrna, Sorcha, and wee Agnes will have no difficulties finding husbands, for they are as beautiful as you are, my dear, her husband said candidly. 'Tis our Annabella who faces an eternal maidenhood. Bothwell himself will speak with Duin. He will not dissemble the facts, but be entirely truthful. He has told me that Angus Ferguson's heart is not engaged elsewhere, nor is there any impediment to a marriage between him and Annabella. If he wants these lands that I hold in the west, then he will acquiesce to Bothwell's proposal. I am told Angus Ferguson is in his middle 30s, and like any man with title and property will want an heir or two. At 20, our daughter is almost past her prime, but still young enough to give her husband bairns. The possibility of her eldest daughter bearing a title, mothering a future Earl of Duin, was beginning to seep into the Lady Anne's consciousness, along with the advantages such a marriage for Annabella would bring for her family. If this comes to pass, the Melvilles will no longer be able to look slantwise at Myrna, for her connections will more than make up for her lack of a large dower portion, Rob. She will have Ian Melville and no other, she vows. She is more than ready for marriage, and should wed as soon as possible after Annabella. I don't like Ian Melville, the Laird of Raff said. But if she wants him, I cannot deny her. The Melvilles are a good family and stand high in Her Majesty's favour. How soon will we know if the Earl of Duin will have Annabella? Within a few weeks, Robert Baird answered his wife. Bothwell has gone himself to suggest the match. Well, as long as he isn't a sorcerer, the Lady Anne said, and her husband smiled. May she be as happy as we have been all these years, the Laird said to his wife. The Lady Anne nodded in agreement. I pray it, she replied. Chapter 1. The Earl of Duin was the most powerful and the most feared man in the western Borders. His power stemmed from his vast and seemingly unending wealth. The fear was born of the belief that the Fergusons of Duin descended from a race of sorcerers. Angus Ferguson did little to dissuade that conviction. His family was barely known beyond the scope of their lands, which suited the Earl quite well. Great wealth had a tendency to attract envy, and envy invited trouble. At the age of 16, Angus Ferguson had inherited Duin from his father. His mother had died several years prior. He had 2 legitimate siblings, a brother James and a sister Mary. Both had sought lives in the church. James actually had a calling. Angus saw him frequently and was proud to see him slowly working his way up the ladder of the church hierarchy. Mary, however, had chosen to enter a cloistered convent. The dark reputation of their family weighed heavily upon her. They had never been able to convince her that the blood of their few ancestors known to have practiced magical arts was practically non-existent in their veins now. Mary Ferguson felt it necessary for her family's sake to expiate those supposed sins of long ago. He saw her rarely. At the age of 18, Angus Ferguson had seen an opportunity to advance his family, and he had taken it. King James V had been defeated by the English forces in the Battle of Solway Moss 4 years earlier. It but echoed the time some 30 years prior when James's own father had been killed fighting the English, and he had come to the throne a boy ruler. His 2 sons were now dead, and learning that his wife had delivered a daughter instead of the hoped-for male heir, James V fell into a deep depression, saying, "It came with a lass, and 'twill go with a lass." Then, turning his face to the wall, he spoke no more, and died shortly afterward.